Affiliate world. This is home for me and to me, and thank you guys for keeping on showing up for my talks, and I keep on trying to get new stuff. Today we're going to talk about scaling Q5, and I'm going to explain in a second what Q5 actually means. For those of you who do not know me, I'm an affiliate. I have an agency and I run some brands. Currently, I spend over 200 million a year on everything that I do in between the brands that I run and the affiliate campaigns that I'm running. Also, an Affiliate World, an STM Forum Affiliate Hall of Famer, which is something that I'm extremely proud because I built my life around this. This QR code is going to appear now and at the end of the presentation. So if you guys want to follow me on social media or you want to watch more of my video content, it's free and it's there. I don't have any course or anything else to sell you on. Back in Budapest, I was referencing a video about how I met my wife through online marketing and using my digital marketing skills. And people were very interested, and even though it's on my YouTube channel, I decided this time I'm going to open up with talking and explaining my affiliate world kind of story. So the story is really about how this industry changes lives and how much I'm in love with this industry and how I used my skill set to get into a relationship and ended up getting married, as some of you probably know. So a few years ago, I know that you probably can't believe it, but I found myself single. You are probably asking yourself how such a handsome guy could find himself single, you know? She's probably thinking girls are standing outside your door, something like that, and sometimes it is true, but most of the times it's not. I'm not as tall as Adam. So I ended up coming up with a plan. I decided I'm going to go on all of the apps, and some of you are even asking if I went on Grindr, which I tried. No, I'm joking, I didn't. And I decided to really build a plan on how I'm going to meet, my wife. So the market was really rough, and I feel like there is inflation that is very constant when you're trying to meet someone. And the algorithms of these apps are horrible because, just think about it. These apps kind of sell you on get on the app so you can get out, but the apps are making money when you're staying on the app. So, I was even desperate enough to buy the lifetime stuff, which is you buy it, you know that you want to get out, but you're so desperate, so you buy it. So what I did is I really came up with a plan where I found myself obsessing like I do with my campaigns and my other projects, and I decided to really come up with a full-on, advertorial, which I'm going to talk about in a second, but I really dug into these apps and I found out that they're rigged, basically. It's the worst casino in the world in terms of percentages and how it works. So basically how it works is that the top 10% of guys are competing for 90% of women, which is very hard and horrible. And if you're one of the top 10 or 20% of guys like Adam, then you know that it's very easy, but if you're not, then you feel me probably. So we're in a world where it's basically very hard to meet. So after understanding how these apps worked, I came up with a plan. I said to myself, okay, I'm very good at lead gen. I'm very good at creating funnels. Why don't I do something like that for myself? So I went on a copywriter, which is the equivalent of the guy the person who writes for the American Saturday Night Live, and I did a professional photo shoot, and I went on the second largest website, news website back home where I live, which is Israel, and I created an advertorial. And then I started setting up campaigns. One of the biggest better campaigns I ran was a Taboola campaign, a native ads campaign, which was very weird, editing my own thumbnails and basically running and optimizing according to CTR on my own pictures. So I got a lot of DMs, basically. Let me share some stats from that campaign. I didn't spend a lot. I spent $2,000. It's probably the highest ROI campaign I ran probably gonna run all of my life. I got something like 1.5 million impressions. I got something like 3,400 responses. The cost per response is 0.58. And then I got 274 phone numbers, so the cost per lead was something like $7. I went on 50 dates, so the cost per date was $40. And if you guys don't know what CPML is because I just made it up, and you can ask me how much that cost was later. So the rest of the story, as some of you who are in Dubai probably know, is that I got married. I proposed at the Affiliate World stage. By the way, she didn't come directly from the article and the campaign. It was kind of like a residual traffic. Someone saw the ad, someone saw the article, and he knew her. So that happened. And believe it or not, we did get married. She was crazy enough to do it. And believe it or not, I'm now a dad to Arya, who's here with me. She's 7 months old. She's very cute. And she looks like me a little bit. So that's the story of me at Affiliate World and online marketing. So let's jump to what you guys actually came in for. Q5, such a sharp kind of like turn. Q5, it's basically the period that comes in between Q4 and Q1. It's a period that if you are extracting and doing whatever I'm going to teach you today, you can make a lot of money in a short amount of time and possibly drag your winning campaigns throughout the rest of the year until the next Q3 or Q4. So we're going to talk about how to switch into Q5 and what you actually need to do it. That consists of creating the right setup, recognizing and using the right winners, building the right settings, funnel, and making adjustments to your bottom of funnel traffic. So we're going to talk about pixel setup, which is something that I talked about in Budapest, and many people liked it. We're going to talk about that in Meta. We're going to talk about how to recognize your winning creatives that you can actually drag on. We're going to talk about some manual bidding and how to kind of like make those campaigns stick with you. We're going to talk a little bit about funnel optimization and payment optimization, and then how to shift your campaigns into bottom of funnel campaigns. So, you know, the pixel on Facebook now matters more than anything. It's like your secret sauce. Without it, you're nothing. It's the engine that actually runs everything. A lot of people are talking about creatives, funnel, and A/B testing, but not a lot of people are talking about having the correct setup. Without the correct setup, which I actually still do see when I audit accounts, you're nothing. It doesn't matter how good of creatives you're going to run, how good your funnel is going to be, your optimization process is going to be. So you want to make sure that your setup is good. The right setup doesn't just has to do with like low CPMs and low CPCs or low CPAs. It also is the only way that I managed to get my brands to 9 figures. Without it, you're not going to tap into that high-scale audience in the US if you're running in the US. So let's talk about some technical stuff and how to set up the pixel correctly. The first thing you want to make sure is that you are sending both server-to-server and browser pixel. Okay, so you do that by going into the Events Manager, data sources, and you want your graph to look something like this. You want your graph to look kind of like the lines are crossing each other, but not exactly, because some of the sources are going to send more events or different events throughout different times. When you go into a specific event, like your purchase event, you're going to see the specific parameters and what basically Facebook tells you you want to send more or you want to correct. Ideally, you want to have at least a match rate of 8 out of 10. The main problem or thing that people keep on missing that I see is that they focus on the purchase event, but they don't understand that Facebook actually sees, platforms like Google or Applovin, they look at the whole funnel, people who add to cart and stuff like that. So you actually want to send and have a good event match quality on other events and not just the purchase events. The next thing is event deduplication. When you're sending browser and server pixels, you want to make sure that you deduplicate them. So there are 2 instances where everything gets fucked up inside the pixel. The first one is if you're not sending events, and the second is if you're sending and not deduplicating. Basically, you're sending duplicated events. That is as bad as not sending events at all, so you want to make sure that you deduplicate events. The other thing is making sure that you're turning on the advanced website matching. Make sure that you're sending all of the parameters, and then make sure that you have the track events automatically without a code turned on as well. The last thing, which is probably the most complex one, but also the most important one, is making sure that you're using a cloud-based integration. I personally use Zapier in order to make sure that I send all of these events. Without it, I couldn't really get to the 9+ out of 10, unless you're using automated integration with Shopify or something like that. The last thing, I don't know if you guys noticed, but sometimes you would get like emails from Facebook saying that Facebook got some events from different domains that were not even yours. The only way to really block it and make sure that you're not spamming the pixel is having your domain inside the allow list. So make sure that you enter it, so it kind of like filters out kind of like garbage data, and you don't feed the pixel wrong information. The next thing is recognizing winners. So you want to choose winners that are going to sustain the transition between Q4 to Q5 and carry you. And we're going to look at stuff more than just like CPA. We're going to go back to really basic metrics. So conversion rate to purchase would be one of them, but also landing page CTR, which is going to tell us the quality of the audience. We're going to look at engagement rate, and we're going to look at the basic CPCs and CPMs, because those are going to tell us which creatives and which campaigns and which ad sets Facebook and the algorithm actually likes, and they can sustain moving into manual bidding, which is bid cap or cost cap. What I personally use in order to do that with my Facebook setup, this isn't something that you have on your account, you have to kind of like manually set it up, is a bunch of custom metrics that allows me to see my landing page CTR, my AOVs and stuff like that. So I suggest that you do it in order to be able to recognize the winners. So basically, when we're looking at how do we recognize these winners, we're looking for the top 20% with the perfect combination. So the perfect combination has to do with the bottom 50% of CPCs and CPMs while having the 20% highest engagement rate and the top 25% conversion rate when it comes to landing page conversion rate and conversion rate to purchase. So by the way, if you want to recognize winners even inside of Q4 or outside of Q4, these winners that have these metrics that I just shared are the ones that you can actually switch them from lowest cost to bid cap or cost cap, and you're going to be able to not just scale them and get impressions, but also push the bid down by a lot, and it's still going to serve and get you very low CPAs. That has been my experience. So for example, this ad has everything, just as an example, because it has the right landing page CTR, which tells us about the quality of the audience, the audience intent, if you will, and how we're feeding the pixel the correct information. And this ad is basically definitely a part of the 20% we want to carry on, because it has everything, low CPMs, low CPCs, everything. So the thing is that sometimes these ads could be misleading, because they could have, you know how it is when you run a campaign and one ad inside the CBO campaign on Meta gets all of the attention. It gets like 90% of the ad spend. Sometimes those ads have twice as much CPA as your target CPA, but they're the ads that are built for manual bidding, bid cap or cost cap. So if you switch those ads up, you can kind of like massage the bids into the target CPA that you want, or even lower. When we recognize these winners, we have two strategies that we want to use. The first one is we take the post ID from the original ad with all of its engagement and just create a new campaign with cost cap or bid cap. Usually I like opening up those campaigns with a relatively large budget and just like start it up. So for example, if usually I would open up an ad set or a campaign at 300, I would open that one up at like 12 or 1500 a day. And then I would lower the bid. And if the campaign is capping, meaning it's spending all of the daily budget, then I would lower the bid by 5 to 10% until I see that it's really having a hard time capping the budget, the daily budget. The second strategy is a little more risky because it involves modifying the original campaign, but then again, it doesn't really matter because it's highly likely going to die out after Q4. So it's basically you take the original campaign and you switch it over from lowest cost to bid cap or cost cap. And then again, if the campaign is using all of the daily budget, you lower it by 5 to 10% each day. Just let the ad account kind of like finish its cycle. The other question people ask me is, what do I choose, bid cap or cost cap? This is, I think, a whole other conversation. But in general, the answer is like it is a lot of the times on or in digital marketing, it's kind of like you have to test. But if the campaign is in learning mode and kind of like finished, got some conversion, and it's now active, you definitely want to try bid cap or cost cap. In general, bid cap is kind of like a more safe method because it's not going to spend money if it's not going to get those conversions. And then cost cap is highly likely more going to kind of like serve the ads because it's kind of like going to test what it needs to do in terms of placement, targeting, and stuff like that until it gets, you know, the correct target CPA that you gave it. So in general, the difference is bid cap, you want to bid higher because it's kind of like not going to serve if you bid lower. And with cost cap, you need a little bit more time and it's a little bit more risky. The other thing that you need or want to consider when choosing or selecting the right winners that are going to carry you from Q4 into the next year is videos versus images. So the main thing that you want to consider is the fact that images are going to have relatively higher CPCs and CPMs. So you kind of like want to take that into consideration when choosing the winners. So don't exclude images just because they have higher CPMs or higher CPCs, because they might get you a lower CPA at the end of the day, and those are the ones that you want to carry. Let's talk a little bit about funnels. Okay, so it's kind of like funnels are usually talked in relation to AOVs and LTVs, and I want to talk about how to really extract the most out of it and how we did that. Of course, this is a huge subject, and I only have like 20 minutes with you guys, so I'm gonna oversimplify this, and some of the content is on my YouTube channel where I try and expand more. But generally, when we're talking about funnels, we have the front end part and the back end part. So the front end has to do with like checkout systems, the funnel builders, and then the upsells, and then the back end, has the payment routing, retries, and subscription parts. I personally really enjoy Sticky because they're doing a lot when it comes to the payment processing part and everything that has to do with like the funnel builder. And I've had the chance to use their features lately because I wanted to do something special just for this presentation and just give you, relevant information that's new. So they have a new funnel builder, which is great, and I'm going to talk to you about how I actually do those modifications. But this funnel builder doesn't just allow you to edit everything very smoothly. They also have a lot of templates that allow you to get into, a much more advanced place faster. So you have the ability to change and fully customize your landing page. If you don't have that and you're running on Shopify, that's just a waste of conversion rate because you want to make sure that you focus on basically extracting everything that you can. So some of the stuff that we do, for example, is adding urgency to our page. We always have like a 90-day or something like that money-back guarantee. We always A/B test testimonials. So we just A/B test locations and the testimonials themselves. We always have the ability or let the user have the ability to add more products or more quantity when it comes to it. We A/B test the location and colors of the checkout button, and then we always show the user kind of like the exact flow of what to expect, where it is inside the checkout flow in general. We also try and A/B test the location of kind of like secure payment images and stuff like that inside the page. And what's really good about these types of systems like Sticky is that they allow you to actually A/B test upsells and see, okay, this upsell has a take rate of something like that, creates an AOV of that, I want to choose that over that, and then you can actually A/B test it and see what's the correct upsell. So that has to do with all of the front-end stuff that we do and optimize when we go outside of Q4 and outside of basically Black Friday. And let's talk a little bit about the back end. So, for me, as an affiliate marketer, when someone talked to me about payment routing or retries or subscription, it was kind of like Chinese. I didn't really understand anything. You guys, some of you guys might know Chinese, but I don't. It started being very interesting to me when I went over 500,000. And I understood that if I only have one or two payment options, it's not just putting me at risk, it also lowers my conversion rate by a lot. And it got very interesting when I managed to recover 28% of my sales just because of those options that I'm going to talk to you about, okay? So when you're running e-commerce, you want to make sure that you dig into these stuff. The first one is payment processing and merchant accounts, okay? If you have a few of them and you can A/B test in between them, it's a conversion rate game changer. What those platforms like Sticky does is it leverages multiple merchant accounts basically, and that increases your conversion rate through advanced routing rules. What it does is that it knows, for example, that a certain credit card might convert better with a certain merchant, and it sends it automatically. So if you're doing multiple geos or you have multiple, failed attempts or stuff like that. The other thing is that those systems actually are able to retry. So they know if a specific sale got failed, it knows how to give it like 10% discount or 20% discount and keep on trying, so you don't end up losing that sale. So it's a game changer, at least for me. The other thing is that because we have a lot of subscriptions and we don't want to lose them, basically using multiple merchant accounts acts as like backups. So if you lose one of the accounts, you don't lose the whole subscription based. The last part of this presentation has to do with bottom of funnel campaigns. The most important thing in my campaigns is how I used the bottom of funnel audience that I collected throughout the rest of the year or Q4, and I extract everything I can from it, because that's where the low CPA, high conversion rate sales are going to come from. So what I do is, even if I don't run on Q4 at networks like the video network on Bing or TikTok or whatever, I open up these campaigns. And of course, I make sure that I have the audience, open up on these ad accounts before, just to make sure that I collect as much audience. But you would be surprised how many people don't end up buying in Q4, and then it makes sense to kind of like spend money on it in Q5 because of the low CPMs and low CPCs. So you want to open up stuff like search remarketing and stuff like that. Definitely YouTube has been a big part of that. Again, if you're not running on stuff like GDN, Bing, Taboola, stuff like that, make sure that you do. And then when it comes to audiences, make sure that you have a specific audience for each part of the funnel. So again, I'm talking about just bottom of funnel audience, but I'm talking about segmenting the wide people from the people who add to cart and the people who actually initiate the checkout. So you want to make sure what actually spends money and actually converts. And the way I do it is by using UTMs. So when I send a specific audience coming from YouTube, Facebook, and stuff like that, I would have the URL as UTM source equals Facebook, and then it's going to be a wide audience or audience who added to cart. And then when I open up that audience, I can basically segment it. So with Google, you can actually bid it up or down and stuff like that. So that's how it looks on my Google account, for example. That's basically it. I have a lot more videos on my YouTube page that you can watch for free. Again, I don't have any course or anything else to sell you on, but I would love to stay in touch. So add me on Instagram or Telegram or Facebook or whatever, so we can keep in touch. If you loved this presentation, make sure that you tag me. And I hope to see you guys soon. Thank you.